Yeah, I don't know what it is.
All right, we're live, and it's Music Memories today. I'm Music Memories chat, and I'm joined by Under a Spell, Pan and Tom from Under a Spell, who I have interviewed previously a few months ago now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we could catch up with your band a little bit, but also the main thing of Music Memories is just you're going to share 5 each of your music memories with us, and we can just chat, and I could probably learn some stuff I never knew, and it might trigger some memories in my head as well of whatever you talk about. But let's talk about the band first. I think last time I spoke to you, it was just before you did that all-dayer that you were putting on, that festival.
Oh, yeah, the Metal Fest that we were doing here locally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turned out really well.
Yeah. In spite of what's going on and everything, we're still pretty much somewhat open here, as long as venues are only allowed a certain capacity, and if you're not drinking or eating, you have to wear a mask and social distance and stuff. But I mean, the venue was really big, so I mean, it turned out better than we expected, and I think it was good for everybody to be able to kind of get back into having some human interaction.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah.
And you get some quite good footage as well. I saw a few songs. Some are filmed for you.
Yeah, we some people show up. A lot of it's phone footage. Because there's not a lot of people really doing that much. Professionally at the moment. But except for stuff like this. But yeah, we got a few things out of it. For us, it was just really really good to get back to what we enjoy.
Yeah,
and we have another one coming up in March. And we're going to be playing at the same venue, so we're going to be playing with some heavy hitters at that one. It's on March the 13th here locally. If anyone's watching at Boston Theater, yeah.
Is that another one you put on yourself? Yeah, that's it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Is that one you organise again yourself, or someone else put that on?
Oh no, we do it. We always do our shows for the most part, because then we like
control.
Yeah, we can get somewhat. I mean, we're not really big on promoters and stuff because I don't think they take care of the bands as well as they should. And it's pretty well known.
Yeah.
Whether you're at our level or you're at a an Ozzy Osbourne Megadeth level, promoters, are in it for promoters, and they're not in it for the bands, and they're not in it for the patrons.
Well, we really don't know that for sure. I mean, there might be some promoters out there
I've read
really
enough articles to tell me that they're pretty much the same at all level. It's about the money.
Well, everything's about the money.
Well, yeah. Also, the thing that you put it on yourself as one of the bands on the roster, then you also know, if you can do it from a band experience, can't you? So what's good for the band, what works, the organisation, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and these bands that we're playing with on the 13th of March, it's kind of cool because they voiced that they like doing shows with us. So we hope to continue that because they really are, well known here in the DFW scene. So it'll be good to
feel free to shout them out if you want to. What bands are you playing with?
Protest, Chemicost, Rabid Flesh Eaters, and a new band that actually has our former drummer in it called Siege Hammer. So it's going to be a really good show.
Yeah, good bands, really good.
Sounds decent. I've played Chemicals before on my show. I know I've heard the name Chemicals. I'm pretty sure I've played them.
Yeah, they're really good. In fact, the vocalist and bass player of Chemicost is double duty because he's playing bass at Protest as well.
Nice.
So is one of the guitar players. So a couple of those guys are going to be playing all night long.
Which I'm sure they don't mind.
Yeah. They're plenty of rest, haven't they?
Yeah, both really good bands.
Yeah. Are you headlining now? What's when are you on?
No, actually, Chemicost is going to headline, but Protest is, before them. So, it's all of them are, headline bands for sure.
Yeah, we never really look at it like a headline for us. It's like, we kind of like playing in the middle.
Yeah.
It seems like, there's good energy there for us. We don't necessarily try to put ourselves over another band because we feel like we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And if we work as a team, and have a good show, that's really all that counts for us.
And a lot of times the bands will voice, hey, could we have this slot? Because, we've got something to do or we
travel or something.
For that. And we always try to accommodate if we're putting a show together.
Also, being like in the middle is good because you've got lots of drinking time afterwards. You can stay sober up to your set, and it's like, okay, you can let your hair down with a good headbang, good sing along, good play, and it's like, I've enjoyed that.
Everybody.
You celebrate with beers.
Yeah, when you're playing last, boy, it's a long night.
And you've got to stay sober, and everyone buggers off before you come on because they want to get their train for their buses over.
Well, the good thing is everybody in the crowd's already drunk, so you sound good no matter what you do. That's a plus.
Well, my band did that once. We went off to a gig in Essex, a few miles from where we were, and we got there and they said, "Do you want a headline?" We was like, "Oh, we've never headlined before. No one's ever asked us to headline." Oh, okay then. And all the other bands buggered off as soon as we came on, so we went to play to no one.
That happens. Happens. Everybody gets, you get a lot of people that get drunk by 9 or 10 o'clock, and you go on at 12. Everybody's gone because they're trying to figure out how to get home.
Yeah. Never mind. You live and learn. Anyway, so the idea of today is to talk about like your music memories. And have you got some props? You got some CDs to show me? I'm not sure if I mentioned to do that, or if you haven't, doesn't matter.
No, actually, we wrote them down on paper.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. We got, we're like not prepared for that. Sorry.
That's fine. No, I should have mentioned it. But you got you got 5 each, or you got 5 between?
Yes.
You want 5 each. So let's start ladies first, of course. So do you want to share your first music memory, Pam?
The first one, of course, would be Heart, Dreamboat Annie, because that's who my biggest influence was, Ann Wilson, growing up. And when that album came out, I was in high school. I was 16. And, it was a big deal because, again, I mentioned this before in our last talk, that, having a woman like Ann Wilson kind of basically, to me, start singing rock or somewhat, heavy rock was really cool. And it just made me feel like, wow, this is something I'd love to do. And she just really opened the door for that for me.
Yeah. Was she like the first woman like rocking that you sort of saw, and or was you into rock music? It was
something totally different, that wasn't, because there was always like Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks and all that kind of stuff. But seeing Ann and Nancy Wilson on stage, they were a little bit more heavier as far as they were trying to perform in a man's world, and they did a good job of it.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of opened the door for a lot of women.
They got out of pop and went really into hard rock. Yeah.
So they were like kicking ass kind of thing, a little bit more than the traditional girl singers.
Yeah, definitely. And and then as soon as all the time I was singing to those songs. And, it just kind of just went from there, decided to take voice lessons, and then went into, just contacting different people that had bands going on, and I'd audition for them and sing with them. So it's, just, fun stuff as a teenager, enjoying music.
So they're the band that got you to want to sing.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. The Heart's one of those bands, like, I know the name, I've heard the name, but I couldn't name a song by them probably. I probably heard them and I remember them. So what songs were on, what was their big hits?
Big hits were Crazy on You, Magic Man, but those are, and Barracuda. Those were the 3 big hits, and you still hear them today.
Yeah.
And, they're not, they're older now and, slowing down, and they've made their money, but they're still doing a little bit here and there, and a lot of times they do separate stuff too. It's not really hard. It's basically Ann Wilson by herself, and Nancy Wilson, I know, has her own band too. So. Right.
Did you get to see her live back in the day?
Oh yeah, definitely, several times.
Yeah. Any particular memorable ones, or is it too much drinking to remember?
Well, actually, I saw them. Yes, we saw them.
Right.
The last time I saw them together was at Billy Bob's here in Fort Worth, and that was several years ago. And I saw them with Tom, and I was just like, we were close enough to where
Yeah,
I
it's
felt
good
like
show.
I was making eye contact with her, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, she nailed it.
And then when she recently started doing some solo stuff, and we actually went and saw her at what was it, Bomb Factory?
Yeah.
We saw her at the Bomb Factory in Dallas, and doing cover tunes. Though she did a lot of cover tunes, but it was very good.
Yeah, and she did really good at it too. I mean, she pretty well rounded.
They were a big band, weren't they? They're like all the radios and all that. They were quite a big name in the radio back in the day.
Oh yeah, definitely big name.
Did you actually get to talk to her at all? When you at her gigs, was she like backstage? You never saw them, or was she meeting in the crowd talking to people afterwards?
No, never. I never experienced that. Usually with those kind of things, they usually have those, where you can buy those packages where you can go backstage. But I never ever did that.
Right. I wasn't too sure if maybe they were
I was a fan, but I didn't go for that.
No, not spending extra money.
Struggling musicians. We barely had money for tickets.
Yeah.
A mate of mine was talking about this back in the 70s. She was a kid. Did you ever do the thing where you got your hair brushed and you'd sing in front of the mirror?
Oh yeah, as a teenager, that's how I practiced. Actually, I think it helped me a lot. Having a hairbrush, singing in front of a mirror, because it kind of gives you the technique or your technique of how you want to look doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a musician when you learn how to play. You got the guitar and you don't know anything, but you're acting like you're like playing this thing.
You want to practice the attitude before you practice
Right. Yeah.
Do you recall
looking at you like you're psycho?
Do you recall your first song that you was practicing in front of the mirror? What song you first started to try and get your vocal cords around?
Oh gosh, there's so many different ones. I've listened to Zeppelin, Journey, Rush. Rush I always liked because Geddy Lee had a high vocal, so I could hit the notes on a lot of their songs. So that was always cool. And just basically just those bands of the
classic
time.
Classic rocky kind of bands.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Have you ever considered doing a cover version of Heart in Under a Spell?
No, we don't do covers. We feel like we're all original. We don't want to do anyone's stuff because I don't think I could do it as good as the original, and I just prefer.
That makes sense.
She can, but our thing is that we'd have to make it our own to make it stand out, because I always see a lot of bands, and good bands do a cover song, and you're going, oh, they just didn't do it right, I mean.
But then we have heard bands also that have done it right or made it.
Case in point, Lacuna Coil with "Enjoy the Silence."
Yeah, they do that.
They knocked it out of the park. But then you get some bands that do a cover song, and it's like, man, you guys should have left that one in the room. And I don't want to be, and I would end up being the guy that goes, we need to leave this in the room. So I mean, for me, I would rather us stick to our craft, because then to me, it's I just it's kind of that's their baby, and I don't want to take away from that.
No. Yeah, I get you. Now, sometimes if you hear a cover version and you don't know the original song, it sounds awesome. But if you know the familiar song, the original song really well, it can be like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, and also like when you're doing a cover song, and I've noticed this myself. Like, say for example, if somebody was doing Ann Wilson, I mean, I'm such a big Ann Wilson fan. I mean, I know every pattern or way that she sings each song that she does, like from Heart, for example. And when I hear somebody try to copy that, I'm sitting in the audience listening, going, well, they didn't hit that note. No, and then it's a disappointment. And that's why I wouldn't want to do that myself, because I don't want to disappoint anybody. I'd rather do my own original music and, impress them with that, because that's mine.
It's harder to do your own stuff and be accepted.
Yeah.
To me, that's a better challenge, because, man, I can learn. I mean, and I know a lot of cover songs on the instruments. Man, I can play anything from, country to, death. And But to me, it's harder to create my own music that people like than to learn somebody else's.
Yeah.
That's the challenge for me.
All right, let's move on to your first music memory now, Tom.
Okay, so I gave this a lot of thought because there's a lot of records, but my earliest memory of what got me into rock and roll was Santana and his Abraxas album, because I heard Black Magic Woman.
All right.
And then here I am 50 or 40 some odd years later with a Black Magic Woman. So, but you know, it was an incredible album. There was just the musicality of it, and there was so much depth to that album. And I was like, man, that's really cool. And so that got me started into, you know, wanting to learn actually how to play an instrument.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of flip-flopped most of my time from playing bass back to guitar and guitar back to bass, and, you know, currently on the bass. But, you know, the whole album is just chock full of killer musicians and just really, really good songs.
It's another one of those bands, I know the name, never really heard any of their stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, in America, he was basically, you know, for the rock stuff, you know, he was the first Latino, you know, that really broke the mark in the rock and roll world here.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was, you know, playing with the likes, you know, and sharing the stage with Jimi Hendrix and, you know, I mean, everybody that was great. I mean, he was around that, you know, and he was so original to me because, you know, a lot of rock bands, you know, that's the cool thing with, you know, especially a lot of the great ones, you know exactly who it is when you hear it. They have their own sound. They got their own guitar tones. You know, they weren't emulating each other. They had their own path that they were creating. And that's the hard thing it is in today's world for us, you know, because because so many things have been done already, you're trying not to sound like someone else. And I just, man, and that record is so original. Guitar tones, you know, the way they use the keyboards, you know, it's got that Latin drum feel to the drums. It's really cool, really cool.
Yeah. I think he's one of those ones who's like big in America, didn't travel over here much though. I think I've heard of him, but I don't remember him having any hits on the radio or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, probably so. Probably so.
Have you seen him live as well?
No, because he was kind of a little before my time at a point. By the time I had been able to see him, he was not doing anything anymore. Or either that or it's extremely expensive. It's kind of like trying to see Led Zeppelin, you know, you got to pay $300 a ticket for, you know, a seat that's, you know, you got to have binoculars to see it. It's tough, you know, and they don't, you know, by the time I was able to possibly try and see him, they weren't touring as much.
Right.
So, you know, it was kind of a bummer. That's the one thing, but you know, live and learn. At least I got we got the vinyl and CD and that stuff to listen.
Yeah, because it's one of those names. I know the name, but I don't know if he's still going or is he still bringing out new albums, or even if he's passed. I have no idea.
No, he's not doing anything. I haven't heard anything out of Santana in probably 15 or 20 years. You know, and to be honest, I don't know if he's still on Earth or not.
No, he's getting
on. The
last
thing I ever heard about him was he made shoes.
Yeah, he was he actually put his name on
really
women's shoes. You know,
cool women's
first
shoes.
thing she says is, "Man, he's got cool shoes." I'm like, "Well, he's a pretty great guitar player." He's
designer, you know.
Yeah,
that's a strange career path.
Yeah.
So unlike other, Jerry Garcia did ties.
Oh,
yeah, he had really cool
ties. He's got these silk ties, and they got little pockets on the inside of them for your MP3 player.
Yeah, and they were really pretty patterns.
Yeah, I'm thinking, man, that's the perfect boardroom setting. You know, only a rock and roller would put an MP3 pocket in your ties so you can jam while you're in the board meeting. You know?
That's interesting.
Ignoring the boring.
Ignoring the boring. Yeah, right on.
I thought it was quite weird when George Foreman went on to do the grill From boxing to grill, from guitarist to shoemaker, from tire maker.
Well, you gotta have shoes on your feet. You gotta eat. So I guess
see, rock and roll was more diverse, and heavy metal they just do booze and stuff. You know?
That's true. Have you tried any of the like beer band brandy beers and wines?
I've had Iron Maiden's beer. The Megadeth, the company doing Megadeth beer is actually pretty decent.
Oh, I've not tried that. I've seen that one.
I haven't had Metallica's whiskey, but I heard it's really good. A friend of mine had somebody said that's really good.
Slayer did a red wine, didn't they?
I'm trying to get a hold. Dave Mustaine has his own wine. He's got a vineyard, and I'm trying to get a hold of that. So I've been on the hunt for some of his wine.
I think we can order it now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the good thing about where we live in Texas is they'll let us get anything via mail.
Right.
So I can get booze delivered to my house, which is nice.
Yeah.
But sometimes, it depends on who the shipper is, if they have the right permits and stuff to be able to send it out. So,
well, even from state to state, you've got to have permits for sending.
Oh yeah, because like if you go to like Pennsylvania, there are a lot of dry counties where they don't, you can't buy or sell or have booze delivered, but you can go drive and get it.
It's such a big country. You have a lot of weird sort of like different laws from state to state, haven't you? Things that are allowed in one place aren't allowed in another place, and bit confusing.
Well, there's a huge amount of diversity too, because you got so many different religions, and communities spark up.
Yeah,
everybody's got some different philosophies on stuff, and they have the freedom to do it.
So my religion is metal and beer is my religion.
Yeah, well, I'm with you there, my friend.
Tell us, because you mentioned it off air, that's some homebrew you got there, so homebrew mead.
Yeah, when you started making it like at Christmas time, right?
Yeah, no, before I started making it back in August. Here we are in the lockdown, and I'm like, get me honey, get me water, get me yeast. I'm making my own hooch.
When are you going to start bottling it and selling it? Well,
I got a few bottles under the cabinet, but I'd be worried about selling it because I don't want the magistrate to come and take it away.
It's fair enough.
Yeah, that'd be my luck, out on my door, and they're like, "Hey, you sold 10 bottles, you owe us money."
Yeah, we can't afford to lose the bass player.
Yeah,
they're too hard to come by.
Yeah. My housemate has started making wine grapes that we grow in our own garden. So she actually just bottled it up, and ran a little. It's quite lively, but pretty nice.
Yeah. The nice thing is you can choose your own ingredients and do really good ingredients.
Yeah,
and I've always find if you can get it local, it's the best. My sister has a horse ranch, and they actually have blackberries and the little small sweet plums that grow there.
Right.
So as soon as those start popping up, I'm gonna go over there and grab a bunch, and in the yeast it goes.
Nice. Right. Let's go back to Pam for your second music memory.
I guess the second one would be Rush, like I was mentioning about them. I really got into them, I guess, my junior year in high school. Saw several of their concerts and really enjoyed those. I felt like, that was, I was dating a guy at the time, and he was really into them, and he took me several times to see them. And, when you go see their concerts, it was just, they were magnificent musicians, because there was only 3, and I was just so impressed with the sound that they created, and it was so technical, and of course being a teenager, and then you're sitting there and maybe getting a little high while you're listening to it, and it's just like, wow, just what an experience. And I just always loved their songs. I especially like Trees. That's like my favorite one, and the Hemispheres album was so great. And so that's basically, just a memory.
Yeah.
Going to see them live, and the people that I was hanging out with at the time, and just good times,
Yeah. That's the main. That's it's all about it. Music does provide a lot of good times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the best.
Yeah, that's another band I'm criminally unaware of. Rush. I've had one track of theirs, some Spirit of Radio, on a compilation when I was first getting into metal, and when I went to had Man of War on it and Dio on it, and I didn't get any more Rush. So the one track that I quite liked, it's kind of a little bit soft for me maybe, but my mate, my housemate, he's done a discography review. Like he's gone through and ranked his favourite Rush albums in order, kind of thing. And that's actually on my channel if you ever want to check that out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They had quite a lot of albums. They had about 20 odd albums, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they put a lot of stuff out, man, a lot.
I like their old stuff though.
Yeah.
More than any of the newer stuff.
2112.
Yeah. Just
Oh,
that's the ones. If you check them out, you should definitely look at their their very beginnings.
Yeah, it's really prog. If you like prog metal
Mm.
and a lot of progressive stuff, you can understand Rush, because I think Rush really kind of sparked the prog metal genre in a way.
Yeah.
Because, the time signatures and just the musicality of it. Yeah.
So who was the one who died recently? Was it Geddy Lee that died?
No, it was their drummer.
Peart.
The drummer.
What was it?
Neil Peart.
Neil Peart, that was it, right? Yeah. I lose.
Yeah.
I just remember a few names.
Yeah, sad story. Well, a lot of people don't know that when Rush kind of took a hiatus a while back is because his wife and daughter died. They were killed. I think it was in a car wreck.
I think that's what it was.
And he actually got on a motorcycle and actually lived on the road for a long time, like several years, I think it was.
Yeah.
Probably logged several million miles on a motorcycle and just traveled around and just, kind of sad. But then he came back and wrote some more good stuff, and then,
Yeah.
A good grieving process to
Yeah.
to deal with it.
Yeah.
I suppose the traveling, because sometimes when you're like feeling that sort of depth of sadness and like grief, you can't sit still. So maybe you have to want to get up, and you're sort of stressing and walking up and down. And I suppose just getting on a motorbike and traveling is kind of like a form of that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing new things, getting.
Yeah.
Trying to clear your head.
Yeah. Seeing new things. Yeah. Yeah. So we couldn't go under more happy circumstances, like go on a road trip, with his family, obviously, but sad.
Yeah.
I didn't know that story. It's
it's an incredible drummer. I mean, that guy made a mark. I mean, he definitely wrote a piece of history. I mean, he'll be known forever.
Yeah. There's plenty. You obviously, did you see him as well back in the day yourself?
Oh yeah. Rush.
You saw him at Red Rocks?
Yeah, I saw him at Red Rocks, Colorado, and it was just amazing, And the cool thing is we saw him together, years ago, and they never changed their state. They always had a washer and a dryer. With clothes going in it, and then they had a vending machine with like sandwiches and stuff, and it was like the old time stuff. And they've always had that on their stage. And when we saw them together, I was like, they still have it. That was the coolest thing,
Wow, I've never heard about that. On stage,
they didn't have that when I saw them when I was a teenager.
Oh, they did. Yeah. They did at Red Rocks, man. I look over and we're like, there's a washer and dryer up there with them, man. That was funny. We got a great kick out of that.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, I got to see Iron Maiden at Red Rocks too, and it was neat because they did hieroglyphics all over the rocks and on the stage floor.
Yeah.
And it was really neat. But one thing we noticed is they came out with so much gear. There was like 7 trucks, like semi trucks, still full of gear that they couldn't fit in there because it's not a very giant place.
Yeah.
But man, yeah.
Really I suppose they're different size for different stages. So they get whatever props out they wanted, depending on the side of the stage.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Red Rocks is to me one of the coolest places you could play.
All right. It's not an open air one, is it?
What's that?
Is that an open air one?
Yeah, in Colorado. It's in the foothills. Yeah, it's in the foothills of the mountains, and it's natural acoustics.
Right.
So all they did was they just put a stage, inside of this kind of enclaved area, and then as it comes back up, they just it's like open rock. You just kind of, it's shaped where you can sit down, but there's not like, well, they can put chairs in there now, but when we were there, it was just like you're kind of sitting on a stone.
And didn't
piece. It
you
was
say
really
there
cool.
used to be like little caves you could
Yeah,
sneak
there
in
was
there?
when we were kids. There's caves up in there. They got them blocked off now because you don't want people falling to their death and stuff. But you could sneak in those
Yeah.
caves and get and watch the show for free.
Wow.
Before they
That's a pretty.
Yeah,
blocked it off.
before they figured it out that
Yeah.
people were hiding up in there, But
That's a pretty unique venue then.
yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
And then I was going to mention to you too, Graham, when I went to go see Rush as a teenager, they used to have here in Dallas Reunion Arena, and you've probably seen pictures of Reunion Tower. It's the tower that's in downtown Dallas, and it's got the ball on top, and it lights up.
Right.
And inside of it, there's a really nice upscale restaurant, and you can go up there, and there's a like a lookout where you can see the whole city of Dallas, and it slowly turns. Well, anyway, there used to be an arena there down below, and it's long gone, but that's what was cool when I was a teenager. You would go see concerts at arenas, not at these little bars or bar venues. I mean, you were going to big arenas that were packed, and so much fun and so much excitement. It's just such a shame that those are gone.
Yeah, so there's hardly.
I mean, we have the American Airlines Center here, and the big bands that are really big, go there. But most of the time it's,
but the thing that sucks is it's not really built for sound because it's a sports arena.
Yeah.
So they don't think
that's
about
true.
the acoustics for bands. So when you go see a band there, it's a hit or a miss if the sound
Yeah.
is put together,
So speaking of the memories, that's something that I'll always treasure. As when I was young, I got to see bands at arenas. I mean, and there were other ones. There was the Dallas Convention Center, and there was also the Fort Worth Convention Center. So there was, like 3 we could choose from. So, or that bands would go to. So it was pretty cool.
Most of my gigs are like smaller venues, but most of them are closed down now. So many of them like great gigs, like from when I was younger. Those venues are no longer there. So like. You have to find new venues as they go along, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like with this pandemic, who knows if the venues are going to be there once it's over?
Yeah, we've lost some here for sure. We're lucky. There's a few that have kind of made it through, but yeah, it's really hit a lot of people.
It's so sad.
A lot of businesses have gone out. A lot of people are like losing everything, and it's pretty sad.
Yeah. All right, let's move on with your second music memory, mate.
Okay, well, I know you're going to know who this band is. And the next biggest influential band for me as I was growing up was Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Man, when I caught that in the early 80s, when I started coming into my teens, man, it just blew me away. I was totally sold on metal at that point. I liked everything they did,
Yeah.
It was just cool, man, and of course, as I was, a young kid, starting the party, that was right in line with how we were. So, but, and at that point we were listening to Rush and everything as well. But man, I started really going down that path of heavier and faster.
Yeah. What was the first Black Sabbath you heard?
Well, it was Paranoid.
Right.
I got Paranoid before, and which is usual. Everyone's always like Iron Man, but man, I got into, all the really weird stuff that they did, like Planet Caravan and stuff like that. I wasn't just all about what everybody thought was the popular stuff. I liked all the B-side stuff too.
Oh yeah. That's always fun.
And to me, it was like, that was the best stuff. Cause man, they were doing really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was unbelievable what they accomplished.
They did a lot of different, like how many albums do they have? And like they changed as they went along. They had different singers as well, obviously, but they've done so much. And
I like Dio. I love Dio a lot, man. I liked Rainbow. I like Dio mostly by himself. When he just did, like Rainbow in the Dark and all that, that's when I thought Dio was at his best, But for me, all the Black Sabbath I love, Ozzy was the front man. I mean, and I guess it's just because I'm that, not that it was better or anything, but it's just he fit those parts to me the way he sang them. They just, it was like they were in tune as a group together at that point, and I didn't see the vocal of Ronnie James Dio a good fit for that. And he was a good fit when he did his own stuff because, he came out with like Vivian Campbell, and that guy's a complete shredder on the guitar. And I was like, no, that's where Dio's got it going on. He needs that guitar player that's like lightning speed and, intrication to hit those, that style. And to me, I thought it was brilliant when it hit that.
Yeah.
But
Dio is kind of like, I think a lot of people think that Dio was a more like accomplished kind of like singer. But Ozzy had like his way, like his quirkiness about his singing, didn't he, as well,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ozzy's always kind of been his own person. And, you got to give him credit, man. He paved the way for a lot of stuff. And
he's an original. Yeah,
he's definitely an original. Yeah. Dio rocked. You're dang right. Dio did rock, man. That guy was incredible.
Well, when did you sort of first listen to them? Because it's Paranoid was 69, so you could 68, 69 was it?
Paranoid? Oh yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, no, I didn't get.
He's a 70s baby.
Yeah, I'm a 70s rat. Yeah. So and I always say I was born on a cursed year because the year I was born, we lost Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and somebody else in 70 that was really powerful. At that point, I can't remember.
Yeah, but, I don't know. It wasn't Jim Morrison.
No, I don't think it was. I think Jim. No, it wasn't Jim Morrison.
Well, I
can't
know
remember,
those two.
But I know those two died in 70, and I was always like, really?
And we actually met someone that talked to Janis Joplin the day before she died.
Oh,
It was somebody that we recorded with when we first had the band.
Yeah, he's a really neat guy. He's actually one of the co-writers for the song "Turn, Turn, Turn."
That old '60s song.
To everything, turn, turn, turn.
Another one.
Yeah, but he played the Miami Pop Festival in front of like 90,000 people back in the day.
And Jimi Hendrix wanted his guitar.
He was a left-handed player, and this is the neatest story, man, because we were talking about a lot of the older stuff, and he was a left-handed player, and like Jimi Hendrix, there weren't any guitars out there, but he made his own. He was in a guitar shop one day, and he's playing his guitar, and Jimi Hendrix came in, and Jimmy's like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Well, it's my guitar." and he goes, "Well, can I see it?" And he said, "Sure." So he hands it to him. And he goes, "I want this guitar." And he goes, "But what am I going to play?" Well, Fender had just sent him 3 guitars that were made for Jimmy. And he goes, "Take your pick." So he goes, "Oh, okay." So he grabbed one. He goes, I don't know if it was a couple of years later or several months. I don't remember the timeline, but he was in an airport and he saw Jimi Hendrix, and he goes, "I didn't care if I didn't have a guitar." I walked up and I handed him that guitar back, and he goes, "Here, take it. This is the biggest piece of shit I've ever played." And so we got a big laugh out of it. And he goes, "You're laughing now." He goes, "The laugh was on me." He goes, "I just saw that guitar go on eBay for $750,000.
Oh.
So he goes, "Who's laughing at that?" But anyway, his son.
Yeah, his son
has a recording studio
here in Dallas,
local, and has done some pretty major acts. And that guy's an amazing, and it's Empire Sound Studio, and that guy's really good.
So
microphones that looks like Jimi Hendrix.
Harmonica Man a few weeks ago.
Yeah, hey man, Jimmy was great, man. Yeah, that dude was on it. That dude was on a planet all by himself, man, for sure.
So when you first got into Sabbath, were they still with Ozzy, or had he gone by then?
No, it was in the 80s. I think that's when he was just that, they were doing that whole turn thing. I think it was right when Ronnie started going in with them. And, but man, I soaked up as much of that stuff as I could. I just loved it. And from there, it sent me into the harder path and getting heavier. And
Jeff or Sturgis, our guitar player now, he likes them too.
Oh yeah. I mean, Sabbath is, for me, and I mean, we tune and drop C just the same as Sabbath, because the Sabbath is a staple for all music for us.
Yeah. Kind of wondered, like, if Ozzy or all of them had been so much into drugs and beer, would it have been a lot better, or did drugs and beer actually help with the writing?
I think that was a part of it. I think if you were to go back and try and change something, it would have been terrible.
Yeah. Yeah,
because it's just like how we are now. You write to what's going on in your surroundings, and if you're true to yourself, that's when the good stuff comes out.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to Pam then for number 3 from you, mate.
Just anything Led Zeppelin. I like, and the reason, not only, I've never got to see Led Zeppelin live, but, listen to all their albums and love them as a teenager. And also they tie in with Heart as well, because Ann Wilson loved Robert Plant, I guess, and she did a lot of cover tunes of theirs, and she did them quite well. She did Rock and Roll, Black Dog, and I particularly like Black Dog because when Tom and I first got together, I was working at a sports bar, and they were having like a little karaoke contest, and I got up and did Black Dog, and some guy said, "Wow, is that the radio?" And he was like, and I was like,
well, she did the Zeppelin version of Black Dog, but she sang it like Ann Wilson did.
So
she kind of went off script and just went with the music, So it was a cool, kind of took it to a different level.
Yeah.
But I mean, Robert Plant, to watch him perform when he was young, it was really cool how he would stand there, and make all the girls go crazy, and he was very sexual in his performance, and he was really good at it, and his voice, I like.
So there you go. She didn't like his vocals.
No, I'm really got into their music too.
I'm terrible. I'm like, there's so many like the big like staple classic rock bands. I know none of them. I was like Led Zeppelin. Again, it's another one I never listened to. I started at Iron Maiden.
Well, see, I corrupted her. I got her into the more heavy stuff.
See, I'm from the vintage age. That's why we call under a spell vintage modern, because I bring the vintage. I have all the old stuff from because I'm a 70s kid too. I mean, well, born in the late 60s, but 70s,
Yeah. I don't remember the 70s. I was born in 69. I don't really remember the 70s, but I suppose I am a 70s kid.
Oh yeah. You and I are in the same. We're the same pack. Yeah, we're just on the opposite side of the pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what kind of band I was like. I mean, I was listening to my dad's 50s and my mum's 60s, and like the first. I think my aunt's boyfriend liked Motorhead, so he heard them once. And then I discovered Iron Maiden because my brother had bought it at one point, and that was it. Downhill from there.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I first heard Motorhead, I was a young kid, and I met a guy, and he was actually from England, and we ended up going to school together, and his older brother had Motorhead, and that's when I first heard Motorhead. Man, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Motorhead's.
Yeah. Heads down, no nonsense.
Oh, hey, man, you know what? You're going to get straightforward in your face, and I love every second of it, man. It's raw. It's intelligent. I love it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to your third memory.
Okay, so I was in a record store when visiting my grandma in Podunk, Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Podunk.
We go to this is like small town living. Yeah. And and I'm bored. We're at their local mall, and I'm a city kid. I'm bored to death. And so I see they got some records, and I'm looking through, and lo and behold, I see Metallica Kill 'Em All. Yeah. And it was hot off the press.
Yeah.
And I looked on the back, and there's long-haired kids on there, and they look dirty and mean, and I'm like, Kill 'Em All, this is great. And I had my own money. This is the first record I actually bought with my own money. And I scooped it up, man. And we got to my aunt's house, and she had, the old hi-fi stereo, and she had headphones. And man, they were like tapping me on the shoulder. I had the headphones on. Turn that down. We can hear it. But man, I fell in love with thrash right there. I was like, this is exactly the kind of style of music I was looking for. And and it just, that really made a mark on me. And that's how I was like, I want to play like that. I want that speed and the aggression, and it just, man, I was hooked.
So have you still got that very record, the very same record, or?
Oh, of course not. Are you kidding?
Ah.
I got that when I was 13, and I was dumb when I was young. You know? So I did more stupid stuff than anybody on the planet. I'm glad I'm still here. I'll tell you that. You know, this is a huge testament, my friend. If you play your cards right, you can do stupid things in life and still survive. I just don't recommend it. But no, there's a lot of albums I wish I still had. You know, there's stuff that I got underground as I started getting into like death metal and stuff. You know, that was on cassette tape that I still wish I had. That, you know, it just lost. You know, it's like I haven't been able to find some of that stuff ever again. It's really sad.
It's a shame because probably the first pressing probably of Metallica's Kill 'Em All probably worth a few bob.
Yeah, well, you know, I tell you, when I did manage to score a copy of Hit the Lights, you know, in their demo, and there's actually some of the old stuff where Dave Mustaine is singing on that, and you know, Metallica is what turned me on to Megadeth because, you know, when I was looking
so much better.
When I was yeah, there's no
Megadeth,
question.
yeah,
Megadeth rules, but you know, when I got to looking at the names, I'm like, you know, wait, there's, you know, X amount of guys in the back. Who's this extra guy? And I finally found that, and, you know, I'll wait because that's, you know, my next stuff coming up. So I don't want to get too far my road. But that album, man, really, I mean, the intricacy of it and the speed of it. And hey, what's up, dude? You know, man, it was just cool. I mean, you know, 1983 when that came out, man, and that thing was ferocious, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and I knew a little bit of punk rock stuff, and I like some punk bands. I wasn't like huge into it. You know, I had some friends that were like, oh man, this stuff coming out, you know, let's get mohawks and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, you know, whatever. But yeah, man,
I didn't have the long hair.
Yeah, man, you know, I'm still kind of a hippie soul, but I love the harder, faster, in your face, you know, light everything on fire attitude.
Yeah. There's I remember the harmonica man I was chatting to before. He, like, when he had very religious parents, so he wasn't allowed to listen to the devil's music.
Yeah, devil's music. Hey, man, my dad was totally that way. He's like, this stuff is satanic. I'm like, they're not even talking about it, Dad. Yeah, this isn't even religion.
So you had some trouble with that yourself then, did you?
A little bit, yeah, because a friend of mine gave me, you know, at one point, Motley Crue had that Shout at the Devil, and it had the pentagram, and it was all black, and it was all, you know, and I was just like, you know, he threw it in the trash, and it wasn't even mine, you know, I dug it out. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this back to my friend. My dad's trying to throw this record away, you know.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, Dad, it's like they're shouting at the devil, not with
him.
him.
Good point.
Yeah, but it is what it is, you know. I mean, you know, we grew up and he kind of understood where I was coming from with my music, and actually, you know, he tended to like a little bit of it.
That's cool. Like I said, my dad's 50s, and like he'd always say, "Hey, listen to this, brilliant, great. This is heavy metal." Before heavy metal came about, he's always trying to convince me that an old rock and roll guitarist invented heavy metal before heavy metal came along, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, my dad listened to the rock and roll back in the day. I'm like, you know, Dad, the only difference is, you know, you guys were singing about girls in the middle of the night or bebopping down the street, and we're just going to light the street on fire. So it's the same thing. It's just we're in a different way of doing it, you know.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, back to Pam. Then the fourth one now, I believe.
I guess the next thing would be like, since, you know, growing up here in Texas and hearing a lot of Southern influence type, there's you know, and they were from different Southern states, not Texas, but like, you know, Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet, 38 Special. Yeah, and then there was one band that I really liked. They were out very short, for just a short time, Rossington Collins Band. And they were kind of a spin-off of Leonard Skinner, and it had a female vocal. And I just had their like debut one album, and they had this one song called "Don't Misunderstand Me," and it was real throaty vocals and bluesy, you know, like I don't make no promises, or, you know, like, I don't know, you know, don't misunderstand me, you know, and it's just really cool, you know, southerny, in your face. And yeah, I just liked it. That's another thing. And right now, one of our new songs, actually, we were working on it last night, and it's really cool. Sturgis wrote it, and the lyrics are cool, and it's really bluesy, and
oh yeah, it's one of those like it's like it's very Black Sabbathy, I'll tell you that. But it's definitely one that you turn out the lights with your other half.
Yeah, it's kind of about that.
Yeah. It's it's definitely a song of the sexual nature.
And it's gonna be fun singing it because it's totally this album is gonna be totally different than The Chosen One. It's
I'm gonna be like Eddie Murphy in Coming to America. I'm gonna be like Sexual Chocolate up there, grooving down.
That's cool. You have to get yourself some new stage attire for playing that song, maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to get me a cool leisure suit.
Yeah, something like open chested, like so you can get your hair jamming or something like that.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
Actually, I know. Yeah. Did you have any other like local bands that like when you were first getting into the music, when you first going to gigs? Was you into the underground scene, or was it only the big venue bands you went to check out?
I got into some of the underground stuff, growing up, in certain bands, but there wasn't really, we didn't have too many locals, doing the stuff, when I was,
there was
in that stage.
There was a cool band called Black Horse. When I was growing up, and they were a local band, and they had a pretty good following. In fact, they've resurfaced. I've seen a few posts, and also the local radio station here that's been very kind and played us, KNON. They play Black Horse every now and then, and I was when I was in my early, I guess 18, 19, I went to worked a trade show, and they were there, and I got to meet them and get their album and stuff. So that was kind of an underground band that played local clubs and stuff, but they were really good too. But with a southern twist, rock with the southern twist, and they're pretty good.
Yeah, where I grew up, it was just us little local band kids, getting together and
So was you Colorado as a kid, and you were Texas all the time as your fan?
Yeah, I was born in New York, and then I've been in Texas since I was 5 years old. So I'm a Texan.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I lived in Colorado for most of my youth.
Right.
So yeah, and there, there was a couple of clubs that came through. I was able to see Slayer at a very early point in their career, stuff like that, which was cool because that was still small enough to where they were moving around, and you could talk to people and hang out and stuff like that. Cannibal Corpse, got to see them at a real early time in their career.
What was that like? Was you aware of them before? Was you like you suddenly turned up and suddenly Cannibal?
Well, I knew one of the guys and that was opening up.
Yeah.
They were in a band called Gore Guts.
And,
you know who Atheist is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Atheist was after Gore Guts, and then it was Cannibal Corpse after that. I mean, it was a badass show, man. They were.
Yeah, he definitely opened my eyes.
Yeah, I totally destroyed her music taste, man. I'm like, nah.
My favorite was Typo Negative. He told me.
I opened her up to some of the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, like, you get in the car with me, you're going to be hearing some Vader and.
I like Vader.
All the heavies. Yeah, I like that heavy.
Actually,
stuff,
we went and saw them.
Yeah. Dude, that's one death metal band I got a vinyl. That but yeah, the heavier the better.
Yeah, they had some hassles, didn't they, over there, Vader at one point, didn't they? They got the accusations of like abusing a woman or something on their tour bus. Was that Vader? I think that was Vader.
What's that? I'm sorry, couldn't hear.
Wasn't it Vader who got some trouble over there in America on a tour? Like they got accused of stuff. Was that Vader?
Did they get in trouble here?
I don't remember Vader getting in trouble here, but I know Tudor did.
Oh, right.
Tyr came over from the Faroe Islands, and of course, their lead singer, in the Faroe Islands, they still hunt whale. They're sanctioned to be able to
we
do
love
that.
Tyr.
They're great guys, man.
We
We played with them twice, and it's
Yeah.
that's
one of my favorites.
I look at stuff like that. It's like a culture. That's like telling people you
Yeah.
can't grow crops. I mean,
Yeah,
as long as they're doing it and they're feeding the people on their island, and to me that's no different than hunting anything else. Or it's like, and people that say that, they'll go to the store and get like steak or they'll get bacon. I'm like, where do you think that stuff comes from?
Yeah.
But I mean, as long as you're not destroying things as a whole, it's not like they're out totally ravishing the whale community.
That would feed the village.
But they feed everybody. So there was, of course, a lot of people going after them. And I was like, look, I understand that you don't like that stuff, but it's not like there are certain societies out there that allow they're pretty much going ape shit for that stuff. And I'm not down for just like killing shit to make perfume.
No,
stuff like that. I mean, that's not right.
Which they did for centuries with whale blubber, didn't they?
Yeah. I know we're better custodians, but not all people who whale you can wrap up in that. It's like hunters, people that go to hunt that actually use that stuff. Because I grew up hunting, and we ate what we killed, and we used everything that we killed. In fact, I did a deer. I made moccasin boots. I wore them things everywhere because, man, hell, back in them days, moccasins.
Oh yeah, I had a tall pair of moccasin boots.
Yeah. You gotta have. I was like big shit because I was able to go. I made these, man.
I bought mine.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing when you think about it, because like say people reject these what happens on Faroe Islands because it's not their culture. They're not used to like killing whales or whatever. But for me, you going hunting is weird because over here we don't hunt crap. We don't go hunting. You know what I mean? So to me, like, you guys going out hunting, it seems weird to me, but that's just like different countries.
Right. And we totally get it. Like everybody, we're all about everybody should have the freedom to live their life in peace and happiness and stuff like that. And I mean, I've never killed anything out of just for sport. There's no sport in that. For me, it was like, I mean, I eat what I kill.
Yeah.
It's like fishing. When I go fishing, and I love different types of fish. I don't fish just to toss it aside or do whatever. I'm going to eat that. And in a way it's better for us, man, because it's not gone through some massive processing plant where they put all kinds of garbage in it. I mean, I mean, my ancestors lived that way, and I don't see a problem with doing it as long as we respect the planet. The big corporate people. Yeah, the corporations and stuff like that are hella harsher on that stuff than we are. You know what I mean? It's it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. I mean, they're gonna keep pilfering it, so it's terrible, but it's the reality that we have to live in.
All right. Yeah, it's true. Let's move on back to the music.
Yeah.
Because you're going for the next one, isn't it? Oh, I can't remember where we're now. Are we on you now, Tom?
I think we're on me now, aren't we?
No, you just did your number 4. It's my turn.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying.
That's right. I did. Okay,
you did Washington College.
Well, we got on this other tangent.
So where I was at earlier, I didn't want to go too far into the step, is when I learned to make with Dave Mustaine, and that's when I found Peace Sells from Megadeth, and wow, man. That made me want to practice playing my music, and ever since then, I've seen Megadeth, and I'll tell you, everything that he's put out, I've enjoyed. Like, there hasn't been one, a lot of people don't like Risk. I thought Risk was glorified.
I love
Risk is an amazing album because it shows his
versatility. That's one of my favorite ones. I like
it shows versatility in the writing, that they're not just guys that are playing 1,000 miles an hour. They actually have a set skill. And I mean, he sells is my favorite lineup, but yet, I mean, he's never played with any slack. So I like all the stuff he's put out.
Tom was playing some of their the album
Dystopia.
Yeah, the most current one. And I know he's got a new one coming out after that, but it's really good. I was really enjoying listening to that today.
I always get the idea he was a bit tricky to deal with. Like he's like a harsh taskmaster and kick people out of the band at a slight drop of a hat and that
It's a
kind of thing.
business,
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I watched him, and of course, early on there was a lot of drugs, and that'll do it too, and there's a lot of anger.
Wasn't it why they kicked him out of Metallica? Too much drugs.
Yeah, and I think when they did that, I kind of understand both sides of it, but I feel more compelled to listen to his side because of the fact of, he put them on the map. There wouldn't be a Metallica without Dave Mustaine because, man, he started thrash metal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I mean, he taught Kerry King stuff. Kerry King was in Megadeth, and I mean that elevated Slayer. And I mean, I look at that and I'm thinking, man, they used that guy. Yeah, they gave him credit for it, but they used his music when he asked them not to. And I just, you look at him now and you see how people are in interviews, and to me, I think Metallica, and I like a lot of their early stuff, man. I mean, I do. They did some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
But I think there's a smugness in that outfit that's like, because we were there, we're better than everybody. And Dave Mustaine comes off that way, but he's also a businessman. And everybody that I know that's met him personally, they actually say different than what people think.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I see where he's coming from. And he's kind of got bragging rights, in my opinion. To me, he's the godfather of thrash metal. I mean, he's done most incredible stuff, and I mean, he's come through a lot in his life. I mean, he's almost died several times.
Yeah.
He's come back, he's got cleaned up, he's kind of found a different purpose. And man,
yeah, he's found God, isn't he? And it's kind of like helped him to stay away from the drugs, hopefully.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard road to go down when you're doing stuff like that. I mean, Gar was an amazing drummer. I mean, when they remastered the first album, I actually heard the drums on that for the first time. I was like, that guy was incredible. Just incredible, and such a huge talent wasted because he was putting stuff in his arm.
Yeah.
And it's sad. And then you look at Chris Poland, who's just an amazing shredder and really good. And I mean, they got into it so bad, man. They were hawking their live gear to go get dope. And
that's crazy.
So they had to get fired. I mean, what was Dave Mustaine supposed to do? You're under contracts.
Yeah.
At that point, you're under major contracts of big money. I mean, he didn't have much of a choice.
No.
And I mean, they had to go to the pawn shops to get their guitars. In fact, there's one guitar that Dave Mustaine had that was a BC Rich, and they painted the Megadeth logo on it. That ended up in a pawn shop, and he never got that guitar back. And they went to go get it, and it's like a big mystery of like, where is this guitar?
Yeah.
And someone has it.
God, somebody's probably painted over it and all kinds of crap.
It's so crazy to me. Like, there's so many bands and like big musicians. Like, you hear stories of them being like on drugs all the time, out of their heads all the time, and you just think to yourself, how did they manage to write their music? How did they manage to get up on stage every night?
It's just crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy because it's funny because I was you go through some of the old interviews, and he redid or did a cover of Alice Cooper, Mr. Nice Guy, right? And he was so high when he showed up to film that he couldn't play, so he's just faking. They were just like just see if he can fake it, because he just was totally out of it, and I mean and right now I give him a lot of credit because he's actually got a certain degree of black belt in jiu-jitsu now.
Oh, right.
And I mean, going through throat cancer and all that, I mean, he's had a rough time.
Yeah.
And he's done some great stuff, but I think personally he's had a rough time. And I mean, his kids seem like they're well-rounded, I mean, I give him props, man. A lot of people say, hey, he's this, he's that. And I'm like, you know what? I can look past some of that, man.
Survivor as well.
Yeah. He's kind of,
survivor for sure.
He's earned his due. He's earned it.
I think, for myself personally, Metallica I thought were a bit overrated because so many people were like, Metallica so good, and I was like, yeah, they're all right. I never actually bought any albums by Metallica. I had like a tape And every time you went to a venue, you heard it all the time, so you knew all the songs. I saw them live a few times, but I definitely preferred Megadeth to Metallica, I think.
Oh for me, and I see the argument all the time, and it just boils down to this. I mean, the complexity that he writes in, they can't touch. To me, I don't see the last progressive album that Metallica did to me was Injustice for All, and that's only because there's rumors that somebody else was on drums in studio, but I don't know. I wasn't there, so that's probably just hearsay. But there was stuff with the guitars that Joe Satriani actually worked with Kirk Hammett, and that's true. There was you got to stay off that, especially on the road, man. It's good to not be around all the drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
But you could hear Satriani's playing in Kirk Hammett's leads, and now he's kind of gotten, he's like regressed. I haven't seen any progression, because if you listen to the riff structure, it doesn't seem like it went anything past Kill 'Em All. It's like, it's just, there's no intricacy to it. It's like easy. It's like, okay, I can play that sleeping. There's no challenge in it to me. It's like they just threw it together.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of went, and then all the whining and stuff. And, I the whole bass player situation that, I mean, when Cliff Burton was killed, I think that was the downfall of Metallica.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought in Newsted, who was great, and I think Newsted was the only thing that really held it metal for me. Now
they kind of put bass down in the mix, though, didn't they? There's like people are bringing out like albums
when you put the bass back in that stuff, and you listen to some of the early stuff that he did with them and put bass on it, dude, he was way tighter than them. They had trouble keeping up with him, in my opinion. He killed it, man. And I like the stuff Newsted did even after Metallica. That's like, he should have left Metallica a long time ago and just did his own thing, because it's better,
Yeah.
But yeah, Megadeth, they can't hold a candle, in my opinion.
My own personal taste, like Megadeth, like I didn't really after Rust in Peace. I thought they went downhill for my taste, my personal taste. Like the Symphony of Destruction, I was like, Symphony of Destruction's not a bad track, but the rest of the album I was like, and I've not really checked them out that much since then, but every album is like. Well,
Dystopia is good because it's got kind of an older vibe, The drums are definitely, since he got rid of Sean, the Drover on drums and all that when they quit, I was like, good, because I never liked that drummer. I thought he was. I don't think he was as tight as he could have been, but man, now that they got Dirk Van Buren on drums, dude. And from what I understand, reading, the new album is going to have some blast beats on it. And I'm like, now we're talking. So
he doesn't stick as well live because his vocals aren't as good, but he's had throat cancer, you're saying, so that kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
what can you do? Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, and he never really said he was a vocalist to begin with. A lot of people are always saying, "Oh, he can't sing worth a shit." And I'm like, well,
I like his scratchy.
He did it out of necessity because they couldn't find the right fit for them, so he just did it. And
and his delivery wasn't like a singer anyway, was he? It was like an angry kind of And his delivery was cool, but just like like for example, Peace Sells or whatever, the way he delivers that, he's like sounds like a grudgy old guy saying,
And in the early days, at a point, they're probably so high, probably miss a vocal line, nobody cared. They're just fast, Yeah. But it's it's kind of neither here or there for me. I mean, it fits what they're doing.
Yeah.
And live, it's always difficult live. I mean, man, he's got several jobs.
Yeah.
He's captain of the band. He's leading the way. He's playing. He's playing stuff. He's a better player than I am for sure.
Well,
and I can't sing and play at the same time, so I don't. And if I put my voice on the microphone, dude, we'll never get anybody at a show. The only thing I do is just make, comical gestures once in a while.
It entertain the
yeah,
audience.
yeah. I'll say something stupid just to try and make someone laugh, but that's about as good as you're going to get.
That's still good. That's still entertaining. My first gig was like Monsters of Rock '88, and
really?
Megadeth played that.
Yeah.
So yeah, good band. Let's go to the last memory from Pam.
Okay. The last one I have on here is the band Boston.
All right.
And I never got to see them live either, but their first, I never bought the second album, but I did have the first album, and just so unique and, great music. You always knew who it was because they had a great style. And
is that female fronted as well?
What was that?
Is that female fronted as well, Boston?
Oh.
No.
Okay.
But he had, kind of the higher voice where you could hit some of the notes.
Right.
And
they had his notes device.
Yeah, and like what Tom was saying, I even preferred, more than their hits that were on the radio. I like some of the stuff that was on the other side.
Yeah.
Just
musicianship was really good.
Yeah, they were a great band. And they just never, they did the second album and then they never came back.
Yeah, they never came back.
They were really good.
That's another one of those bands. I know the name, but don't ask me to name the song.
Check them out. Just to listen.
I know the name. What was their hits? Go tell me the hits. I probably would know them.
More Than a Feeling was one.
Well.
And then there's this one, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's on the other side.
Like that.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. But just put your nuts in a vice when you do it. You'll hit the high note.
That's why I could sing it, Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's one of your memories are all like this kind of big classic-y rock kind of radio rock.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm the one that
my time period.
I corrected her into the heavy stuff.
That's good.
Yeah. I showed her the light.
Yeah, they're on the dark side.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I like Arch Enemy.
I threw on the Emperor Palpatine robe. Coming to the dark side.
I wish I could, I've said that before to the guys. I've been like, well, would you like me to try to learn how to, sing like that? And they're like, no. But I think it's so cool when women can do that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it wouldn't go right because it doesn't fit what we're doing.
Yeah, it's more like
if we were to do
I
that,
mean for the whole every song.
Yeah, no, it would be
in parts.
I would want like one of us to have to growl into it to do some stuff. I think it would be because it's like then at that point you're just trying to act like somebody else.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to.
We're just trying to be who.
But I do appreciate her. I think she's great.
This one band, I can't remember what it's called now. I forgot what the name was, but it was all like clean singing, kind of like. But there was one song they did it's called like Eternal Twins, and the idea was that there's an evil twin and a good twin in this.
Right.
And there was a deep vocal with alongside a clean vocal. And that was really.
I know. Leaves Eyes. There was some points where the guy would do some growling.
Yeah, that's
stuff
what I did. Yeah, Alex Kroll and Liv Anderson.
Yeah, there's a female fronted band. They're kind of more of a doom gothic band called Draconian.
Okay.
They do some of that stuff. But where's that band? They're from Northern Europe somewhere. I can't remember, but they actually got 3 singers. They have a clean male, a clean female, and then a growling vocal.
Quite a few of them, like Deaf Doomy.
Yeah, it's pretty versatile. It's not bad, but sometimes, man, I don't like a lot of that stuff because, you've got Nightwish, you've got Epica and stuff like that, and then you got a lot of bands that are trying to do the same thing, but then all of a sudden it sounds like the women are all the same. They're all nasally. And they sound more like pop singers than metal singers, and it's like, it kind of gets boring because it's like the same beat, man. It's the same double bass through the song. And, it's like, okay, I've heard the orchestra enough.
Yeah.
It's like, you can only go so far with it to me. And it's like, okay.
I kind of like those bands, that juxtaposition of the heavy male singer and the lighter female singer. Some of the interplay is like, because one of my ex was really into those kind of like gothic symphonic kind of bands, like Zanja, Tisnaden, and loads of bands like that. And that kind of stuff is quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. There's some of it's really good. You
Oh,
know.
we saw Epica live, and they were really great.
Yeah, Epica was
I
really
love
good
to watch
live.
them.
Yeah, they were with Lacuna
She
Coil.
has beautiful voice, and then the guy comes in with those deep
Yeah.
growling
Yeah,
vocals. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good show, man. That was impressive, man.
Mm.
They definitely got it down. But you know, they're one of the bands that has it down. They can do it. She's got the power to sing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do symphonic and you want that kind of operatic voice, you need to have someone that can really sing the operatic stuff.
Some of a good
'Cause
set of pipes.
otherwise, you know, it's kind of like when Taria left Nightwish and they got Annette Olson, and she was an ABBA. They got her out of an ABBA tribute band, and it sounded like ABBA was singing for Nightwish.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like it just didn't sit well.
That was hard for her because
Sure,
you know,
it
following
put
in her
in,
footsteps.
yeah, it put
you know.
her in a set of shoes that she couldn't fill. You know, and I mean, and she's not a bad singer. She's not bad.
Just different style.
Yeah.
The style was just clashed. Now they got Flora in there, and she fits the band really well.
Yeah, she's.
I think I saw them with Tarja, and I saw them with the replacement. But I don't think I've seen them with Flora though.
Yeah, I think Flora's pretty good. I think Flora's the best replacement they could have got for Taria. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Let's finish this up with your last memory, mate.
Okay, man. So you might know this one, you might not. You should know this one, but my last band is Pestilence.
Oh yeah.
And Consuming Impulse was the first. You know, I actually didn't get it on album. I got it on cassette, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
This is it, man. And my road to death metal just went beyond. Yeah. But that album was great. And I love Testimony of the Ancients too.
Yeah.
I'm not so much into the new stuff that he's done. He's gotten kind of, but then they've changed some band members and it kind of gets a little weird, on some of this stuff.
Was the second album.
They start getting into the 8-string guitars and all that. I'm kind of like, come on, quit, man. Just keep it where it's at. But man, Consuming Impulse and Testimony of the Ancients especially, man, that was a brilliant album.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal.
I saw them in a little local pub, like in East End of London, called The Standard. I ended up putting gigs on there myself for like a few years after this, and I think it was them and like Reverend Creation from America on the same bill in this tiny little pub. It was awesome. It's long.
They played in an older venue here called the Ridgely Theater back in the early '90s, and I was just like, man, dude. That just cool shit, man. You can, when they had that lineup through there, and I even really liked the Testimony of the Ancients lineup. It was good. They hit some really cool stuff, and and I always liked it too, man, because I remember on the back of that, when they do the thank yous, and the credits and all that, and the one thing I always remember on that record is a fuck off to all industrial bands everywhere, because that's an excuse for not knowing how to play an instrument. And I loved it, man. I was like, that rules, because they spoke what they felt, And to me, that was the most real statement of anything I've ever heard, because everyone always like, thanks to family and friends and this and that, but no one ever throws a dig. And when I saw that when I was a kid, lighting shit on fire, and I was like, that rules. These guys are hands down straight shooters.
That used to be the yak when you went FOAD.
Yeah. Well, I just
say that too.
When I was growing up, when I was listening to that stuff, all the girls in high school were into all that new wave and all that kind of stuff, and industrial NIN and all, all that stuff, and I just couldn't relate to any of that, man. I'm like, man, this is just cheesy shit, I mean, it's like they're not really playing anything. They're so over processed. It's like pop music now. It's like it's so over auto-tuned that there's no talent. It's like Pam and I were watching an awards show one time, and here's Taylor Swift, and she gets up with Stevie Nicks, Man, Stevie Nicks is throwing it out of the park, man. Taylor Swift is so out of tune. I'm like, dude, she needs to just like push her. They need to have the big hook, where they reach out, grab you, and pull you off the stage, like in Looney Tunes, they grab the hook and yank you off because you suck. And I'm like, and everyone's like, oh, she's so great. I'm like, dude, she's so auto-tuned. You don't know what she sounds like, dude. She can't sing a cappella to save her life.
Yeah.
And she doesn't write half of her shit. Come on, man.
Well, she does it. They say she does.
Well, they say she does, but give me a break, man. All that high class stuff coming out, nobody writes any of that shit.
Yeah.
For 'em.
I did see Pestilence when they came back. Is it Patrick Mameli? I think is the only original member still. I think I'm not too sure.
Yeah, he's the only original one, which is good. It's the voice, you know. I mean, that's the one hard thing with bands when you change vocals, it really changes the whole outlook of the group. But man, you know, after Testimony of the Ancients, it was just hard for me to get into it. You know, it's almost like they tried to go too progressive,
too jazzy. It was
too jazzy. Well, it's that 8-string stuff, man. It's like all that jet stuff, man. It's like, dude, why even have a bass player in your band? You can't hear what the bass player is doing because all you guys are playing at too low of an octave.
Yeah. Well, because Spheres was their fourth album, and that was a big drop off from Testimony of the Ancients.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge drop off.
There's other bands that's similar, like Cynic came in, and they were kind of like weird.
Cynic was cool.
I didn't like that. And also, what was the other band? Oh, Atheist. They went from being more. They went all jazzy as well, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, early Atheist was really cool because they were still kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But it's like as they went going, it's almost like they went psychedelic. It's like they all started taking LSD, man, and they just couldn't come back.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna have to end this because I'm busting for the loo. But yeah, I get you guys. What's kind of under a spell? What should people do? How can people check you out?
Well, our CD is going to be released on Pure Steel Records website on February 19th. So
pre-sale.
Yeah, like the pre-sale. So we're excited about that.
What's that called? The new CD?
Oh, it's The Chosen One. Yeah, that we remixed and remastered it. Yeah, we released it kind of on our own.
Yeah.
And they were like,
with a low budget.
Yeah, we had our low budget going, you know, because we're poor.
Yeah.
And so.
And it sounded like it.
Yeah, and unfortunately it did. It was really muddy, you know. We knew it, and I kept telling Sturgis, I was like, man, I really want to redo this. Well, we got hit by a rep from Pure Steel. And he's like, hey, we really like it, and we want to, you know, give you a distribution on this since it's already done, but we want it remixed and remastered. And we're like, absolutely. We knew we wanted to do that. And we only did, you know, we only grabbed like, 100 copies, 50 or 100 copies of that first pressing. So what we did was Sturgis sat down, man, and we learned a lot. He remixed it and remastered it, and it sounds really good. You know, we're really happy with it. And at that point, we learned like, hey, you know, if we control this ourselves, even more so, we'll do this by ourselves from here on out.
Yeah.
So, you know, he set up a studio at his house, and we're actually pre-recording and doing a lot of stuff for our next album on our own. And we're really happy with how it's coming. But yeah, they've got the pre-sale, like Pam was saying, and then early March they'll actually have the pressed copies, and then they're going to send us some so we can.
Yeah, and then we'll have them at our shows. And
send us an MP3 so I can play like a new remastered track.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And did we get you a shirt too, or do we need to send you a shirt?
Yeah, you can send me a shirt if you like. But
yeah. What size you wear?
XL.
XL. Okay.
For the fat guy.
Oh shit! I'm in a 2X, dude. Shut up.
Oh yeah, all right.
He's a big dude, though.
But I'm 6'2", so.
Oh yeah. Right, thanks for coming, guys. I've really got to run because I'm going to bust the gut if I don't too much beer.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Again. Everyone, check out the links are down below. Hopefully, talk to you soon again.
Absolutely, man.